going on, everyone? Welcome to another very exciting episode right here on the MIgardener channel. I know you all are going to love this one because in this episode we're going to be setting up our hydroponic bins. Now these are going to be exclusively for our lettuce because if you saw last episode I explained that the lettuce is actually going to be growing in hydroponic systems and our tomatoes are actually going to be grown in hydroponic to start, but then we're going to transition them to soil. And so we're going to be getting our hydroponic bins set up because I've got something to show you.
Check it out. After just 3 days, we have sprouts and the plants are thriving. This means that we're going to need to get them into some nutrients pretty quick.
So with sprouts, after just 3 days, we definitely have got to get those plants into some nutrient solution, otherwise they're going to become stressed. So I've got our bins here, and as you can see, I'm kind of surrounded by them. I've got our bins here because that is the system that we're actually going to use for growing our lettuce. We're going to be actually utilizing a method called the kratky method. Now this is known as a static hydroponic system. Static basically means that it is there's no air and the water is static or stable. There's no oxygenation whatsoever in the water. And you might be asking yourself, well, how on earth, if you talk about the fact that even in a hydroponic system, you have to have oxygenation of the roots, otherwise things will go anaerobic. The key here is that the beauty behind the kratky method is that as the plants mature and as the root system develops, what happens is the water level naturally evaporates and the plants naturally will take up water, allowing for the water level to drop over time. This creates an air void, which the plants will naturally convert those older roots that are above the water line into air roots. Those aerial roots are what will actually absorb the oxygen, allowing for the any roots below the water level to still uptake water and nutrients. This is an awesome method and it definitely works really well for fast turnaround crops. I've seen it utilized pretty well with things like even peppers and tomatoes, but those are definitely a little more hands-on and for experienced growers that have really developed a knack for hydroponic gardening. Now, also the nice thing about the kratky method, it is very minimal on materials, as you'll see. You don't need a whole lot of bubblers, you don't need a bunch of different materials and things like that. You really just need 2 things, well I guess 3 unless you already have it. So the first thing you're going to need are some net cups. These net cups you can find at any hydroponic store or on Amazon. I'll post a link in the description box below to where I got mine. They were like 20 cents a piece, pretty inexpensive, and definitely the way to go. They allow the rock wool cube to sit right in here, and they're actually going to nest in the holes that we're going to drill. Obviously, the elephant is already kind of in the room here. And that is the second thing you're going to need, which are the bins. These are an obvious thing because these hold the water, the grow solution that you're going to grow the plants in. Now, when it comes to the type of bucket, you really don't need to be too concerned. I've seen this work with mason jars. I've seen this work with things like the concrete mixing tubs. In fact, it works great with even things like coffee cans. You really don't have to be It's not have to be a really expensive project, and you can most likely find materials just laying around your house that you can utilize that holds growing solution. All you have to remember is that you need at least 5 inches of depth in order to have good root development with something like lettuce. Now this would never fly with something like a tomato, but for things like lettuce, which is a very fast turnaround crop, you're going to be fine with something like 5 inches. These 5-gallon totes here are terrific, because I'm going to be able to put 2 plants in this size here, and then in this size here, this is the 17 gallon. The 17 gallon will actually hold 5 plants, and that has nothing to do with the amount of gallons. It just has to do with the area here, the surface area of the space. I don't want my plants to be too crowded together. I want them to form nice full heads. So in order for me to get that, I have to space them out properly. So in these bins, I'm actually going to get 5 plants, and these bins I'm going to get 2. Now the cost for these bins are pretty inexpensive, despite their amazing quality. I got this bin for about $6, and then I got this bin here for $9 at Lowe's. So you can find them at your local hardware store. They're pretty inexpensive, but again, you do not have to buy them for this to work. The only other thing you're going to need, if you don't already have it, is a circular saw or a circular bit. This circle bit will actually bore out a 2-inch hole, which is going to match your 2-inch net cup. You want the bit to match the net cup so that the net cup doesn't fall right through. So this has to match this. And this circle bit right here, or this hole saw or circle bit, there's a lot of different names for it, but this only ran me $7 at my local hardware store, and I'm gonna have it around for future projects. So 3 things you're going to need to get this project done. Really easy, really inexpensive, and scalable too. So the first thing you want to do is you want to set your net cups out so that you can kind of visualize where your plants are going to be. Too close and they're going to be too crowded. Too far apart and you're really wasting growing space. For these bins here, they actually are really nice because they have these 2-inch by 2-inch grids, which kind of helps you eyeball how far the spacing is apart. I kind of like that. It's kind of neat. And it really doesn't affect anything. It just, gives you a good visual here. So I like to have this type of spacing, about 6 inches between my plants or so, and that's going to be great. So 2, 4, 6 inches, kind of a rough eyeball there. And then I'm going to have 1 in the middle, and then I'm going to have 2 in the back here. So that's going to give me 5 plants total. The one thing with these circular bits that I can't stand are these little plastic discs that just get stuck. And about every 4 or 5 holes, you've got to completely take off the bit and get these discs out. Otherwise, it prevents you from drilling any further. But you got to get the job done somehow. That is only moderately annoying. And then as you can see, you're just gonna take your net cup, plop that right in the hole there, and you're ready to grow. Check that out. Super clean, super easy, and real sleek. Love how that looks. Note to self, ease into cheap plastic. You've really got to ease into these smaller ones. If you do get this design, the smaller ones have a much thinner plastic and are much more susceptible to just creating shrapnel that just gets thrown everywhere instead of creating a nice hole. That's why these ones are nice, because after about 2 completely obliterated ones, you kind of learn how to get it done. So as you can see, didn't quite come out as cleanly as I would have wanted for a couple of these. This happened to two of the totes, because as I'm finding, the thinner or the smaller totes actually have a much thinner plastic. Compare that to the thicker plastic here. I don't know if you can see, but that's about maybe about 20% thicker. There you go, you can see that much better. So about 25-30% thicker on the larger tote. And that's not a quality thing. These are made in the United States. Pretty happy to give them my money. It just wasn't the intended purpose, and I learned going into it that I had to ease in with that whole bit a lot slower, because once those teeth caught in the thinner plastic, it had a tendency to kind of rip and crack rather than cut. Whereas with a thicker plastic,
it cut a whole lot better. And that does lead me to obviously a learning experience that I'd love to pass on to you so you don't have to suffer the same consequences. And that's that, obviously if you do go with the smaller tote, you only have that much space, ease into it. Go really slow. Get the bit going very fast and go very slow in so that it cuts very slowly. And once you have a hole started, it goes by much quicker, or it goes through much smoother, and you don't have as much tear out. With the larger totes, that would be my preferred growing container, because if you just look at the sheer plants per dollar, you're getting 2 plants for what I got this for $6, so that's $3 a plant, versus 5 plants in the bigger tote for $9. So despite it costing more, I'm actually getting more plants for my dollar, meaning that I'm actually ahead with going with the larger totes. So if you have the space, definitely go with those. It's just way easier to drill as well. Now, as it pertains to these, what am I going to do? Well, the net cup still fits. I'm not sure how well it's going to work with all that tear out, so I might have to take some duct tape and kind of fix it up a little bit. Some yellow duct tape will make it look just fine. I'm sure you probably won't even notice it by the time the lettuce is growing at full size, but I just don't want the net cups falling through, and I don't want all that evaporation and light touching the water because that'll create algae. So very important. Oh, and that brings me to my final point. Any bucket or any container you choose, make sure it's got an opaque material so that sunlight or grow light doesn't penetrate into the growing solution. Otherwise, you will have algae, and that does rob nutrients as well as oxygen from the water, and that will harm plant growth. So a nice opaque material is going to get the job done. I won't take these back and try to get new ones. That would just be ridiculous because this was not the intended purpose. I just, lesson learned. So hopefully you guys enjoyed. Hopefully you'll learn something new. Now that these are done, the next episode is going to be filling them up with the grow solution and getting the plants planted. All right, I'll catch you guys on the next episode. This is Luke from the MIgardener channel reminding you to grow big or go home. If you did enjoy this video, make sure to give it a huge thumbs up. Subscribe if you like this video and want to see more like it. And as always, this is Luke from the MIgardener channel reminding you to grow big or go home. I'll catch y'all later. See ya. Bye.